Hello, this is Chuki Chen, and welcome to the Relative Layout module. In this module, I'm going to tell you what is relative layout, explain to you how to do relative positioning and relative alignment, and finally, what happens when you have some views missing. Relative layout is a powerful layout that allows you to define the position of a child relative to either a sibling or parent. For example, you may have a view at the top left of the screen, and then you want a button that is aligned to the right-hand side of the screen and below this view. You may want to add yet another button, this time to the left of the previous button. Relative layout allows you to specify these positions relatively. Let's look into the details. In the linear layout module, we saw this example where we used a nested layout to put it on screen. Here, we are going to do it with relative layout. A lot of people are intimidated by relative layout. If you look at the documentation, the number of attributes is just astonishing. But it's actually not that complicated. All you need to know is that relative layout allows you to relatively position or align your views to either the parent or its siblings. Let's step through an example to see how it works. We start with just a single view. Here, the relative layout contains one child, the edit text. It has width match parent and height wrap content, and that's it. We did not specify any other attribute. In this case, the relative layout uses the default parameters, which is top left. And as you can see, the edit text is positioned to the top left corner of the parent view. Next, we are going to add a button. Again, we are not specifying any position. This time, by positioning it at top left, we achieve a very strange effect. The button is right on top of the edit text. Now we are going to introduce the parameters. We're going to specify that we want the button to be below the edit text. Here, we are using the IDs to refer to the views. Now, in this example, we want the button to align to the right. Since we're using relative layout, it's relatively easy. We can just add another attribute to align it to the right of the parent. The exact parameter is called layout_align parent right, and you set it to true. So now we have a button that is below the edit text and aligned to the right of the parent. Let's add one more button. We want to put the cancel button to the left of the OK button. What happened here? Relative layout by default put its children to the top left of the parent. If you don't say anything, that's what happens. In other words, top is the default vertical position and the left is the default horizontal position. Here, for the cancel button, we overrode the horizontal position to be to the left of the OK button. But we didn't say anything about the vertical position. So relative layout just put it at the default, which is top. That makes it overlap with the edit text, which is not what we want. So we need to explicitly tell relative layout the vertical position as well. We can use the attribute layout below to do that. Now we tell edit text that the cancel button is below the edit text and also to the left of the OK button. This is how we implement this form in relative layout. When you recall the linear layout example, we have a nested linear layout, one taking care of the vertical positioning of the two rows, and the other one the horizontal positioning of the two buttons. When we use relative layout, we directly control the alignment of each of the views. As a result, we don't need to have two layouts nested inside one another. In general, the more view you have, the higher performance hit you're taking because the Android system needs to track each of the views. If you find yourself using a lot of nested linear layout to implement a screen, it may be good to try to think about how you would do it in relative layout. Here are the parameters you can use to position your view relative to a sibling. You can use layout above, layout below, layout to left of, or layout to right of. You can also specify your view relative to its parent. There are a few more parameters because you can also center the view. Let's look at it graphically. By default, you are going to have your view to the top left relative to your parent. You can push it to the right by saying layout align parent right, to the bottom by saying layout align parent bottom, or center horizontally by saying layout center horizontal, center vertically by saying layout center vertical. There's also a shorthand. If you want it to be both vertically and horizontally centered, you can just say center in parent.